This podcast is sponsored by Borfindel's Dwarf Spirits. Guaranteed to blow your head off. I mean, really. I've seen it. One sip and boom. I'm not entirely sure I see the point, but they seem quite popular. Anyway, order Borfindel's Dwarf Spirits now at the introductory price of 14 groats per gallon and get a pint of goblin spittle for free.
Hello, and welcome to Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. I, as always, am Russ, aka Morrus, and with me here is my usual stealthy but nimble compatriot, Peter Coffey.
Hi, coming in from Southampton Guild Roleplayers and also from Huzhou, which is in the Zhejiang province in China. Very exciting.
Still in China.
Still in China. It's almost like I planned some sort of long holiday here. Who knew? Anyway, here I am. But Russ, you're forgetting, we've got some very exciting, very important people with us today.
I know. We have some special guests today.
Super special.
Would you like to know who they are?
I would love to know who they are. Do tell.
Okay. Well, we have two freelancers extraordinaire.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Darren Pearce. Darren, say hello.
Hello. I'm Darren Pearce. I write role-playing games. I've written role-playing games for 19 years. And I've worked on Lone Wolf. I've worked on Doctor Who for Cubicle 7.
Fantastic.
And Andrew Peregrine.
Hello. Yes, I'm Andy Peregrine. I'm, like Darren, a role-playing freelancer. I've done all kinds of bits all over the place in the same way. Mostly Doctor Who, a bit of White Wolf, a bit of Firefly.
Okay, so this is the first time we've tried a sort of four-person chat here, so apologies to the listeners if this all goes hideously wrong. But let's start as normal. Peter?
Yes.
Yeah, what has caught your eyes in RPGs this week?
RPGs, not so much. The thing that I've been quite intrigued by is there's a series I've seen called Outcast Revolution, which is ripe for conversion into RPG, in my opinion. It's by a friend of mine, a chap called Andy Irving. You can find it on tapos.io. An Outcast is spelt with an E, and it's a work in progress, but I've been enjoying reading it, and certainly enjoying. I certainly intend to find the audiobooks once he puts them up and listen to them, because he's got quite a good speaking voice as well.
So, Darren, could you tell us what you've spotted in RPGs in the last week? What's caught your eye?
I think it's the same thing that's caught my eyes for the last few weeks, which is the new Warhammer 40k RPG, Wrath and Glory. I was going to talk about Warhammer 4th, but I've got a feeling that a certain Mr. Peregrine would like to talk about that, so I'm thinking Wrath and Glory has caught
so
my
you'll
eye.
let him have that one.
Oh,
right?
I had a whole list of things.
Yeah, I'll be kind and let Andy have that one.
So how are you finding the 40k?
I'm very interested because I run a lot of Dark Heresy, and I've always been a fan of when Dark Heresy ended up coming out through Fantasy Flight Games. Ross Watson was working on it, and I'm a big fan and friend of Ross. And when I found out that Ross was working on Wrath and Glory and the lead designer, that got my interest straight away, and I started looking into it. And as you know, I love D6 systems. I'm a big fan of Star Wars D6. West End Games Star Wars D6, one of my favourite D6 games, along with Wine. And Warhammer 40,000 is a D6 die pool system. So straight away, that gets my interest. I really like that. It's set in the new Dark Imperium timeline that Games Workshop have produced for the 8th edition of Warhammer.
Yeah, I've got to say, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it is beautiful. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. It looks really good. I played the Blessings of the Heralded playtest. I ran that for my players that came down the storm. So I've got my fingers crossed for the print version. I've actually got the PDF because I went in on the all-in bundle, which was stupidly expensive, but, well, sometimes you have to do these things, and I just dived straight in, both feet first. And the other thing that's connected to it, of course, is that Ross asked me to write a new source book, which I can't talk too much about, but there is a source book coming out that I've written for Wrath and Glory. That'll be
excellent. Ooh. That doesn't sound like you, Darren, to be writing a source book for an RPG.
I wish I could write one. What's that game? What's that world now? 21,000 AD, or is it 2,000 AD? I can't remember. I've no idea. I think it's a comic or something.
I can't think what you're talking about there.
Comic?
Isn't that? You're thinking 2001. That's a book by Arthur C. Clarke. It's quite good. You should get into that.
Didn't he run a corner shop around by me?
Yeah, I mean, 2000 AD was like 18 years ago. So, Andy, I believe you want to tell us a bit about Woof 4.
I can indeed. I was actually going to talk also about Invisible Sun, which is the other thing that's finally
well, pick one.
arrived.
Which would you like?
I'll do a little bit of both. I really ought to talk about Warhammer 4, although I haven't had much to do with it, but it is gorgeous, and I spent quite a lot of time at Gen Con talking to people about it. So I work with Cubicle 7. It was actually great. We had Graham Davis on the stand at Gen Con, and he had all manner of stories right from the beginning of Warhammer 1. I suppose most people, if you've seen the books are out already, so most people will have actually seen the book and seen it in all its gloriousness at the moment. They've just released the final PDF, so I believe that should be off to the printers, if not already, then very soon.
Yeah, so, and Invisible Sun you mentioned.
Yes, that caught me. The Kickstarter came out just after I'd had a load of overtime at work, which is...
So just to remind the listeners what Invisible Sun is.
It's Monte Cook Games, I suppose the best term, sort of premier prestige game. They've built this as you can only buy the mega awesome limited cube box set.
Yeah,
Epic
one with the
edition.
minimum pledge of $197 on Kickstarter.
That was just to get the whole box. It could go anything up to about nearly 500, I think.
Yeah.
But the box is absolutely packed.
Oh yeah, so you've got that now, haven't you?
I have. It's made its way all the way through all the shipping things. It's got 4 hardback books, character sheets for all the different bits and pieces, tokens like you wouldn't believe, cards for literally everything, a board to track some bits and pieces with. But the bit I absolutely love, the bit that really got me into the game when I opened it up, the first box set I've actually been able to explore. It's full of drawers and envelopes and things, and you pull open these bits and go, what's in here, this bit? Oh my God, what's under here? Was they do a props envelope, and that is full of postcards from the City of Dreams, Satyrine, cards that NPCs might give you, their business cards. There's even a listing of things available at the local cafe. That you can
it does look absolutely gorgeous.
Amazing stuff.
I didn't
really
build
builds
myself.
the world.
It was too rich for my blood, but
Yeah.
I kind of wish I had now.
Yes, it basically originally ticked all my boxes for the sort of game I really like, beyond the price point things. If anything, I would have been straight in for, oh my God, well, this is what I love anyway. It's like, is it that expensive? Oh, I've just had some overtime. Oh, it's so easy to click back, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I haven't been disappointed with it at all. And I love the character creation thing. I mean, when you look at the actual game itself, which is easy to almost ignore because you get so much stuff, you get involved in all the cool stuff. But there is a very straightforward system. There's a lot of variety to it. And it's that sort of game where you can create any sort of character you like. There's, you even create a house for your character where, place full of doors and things in the environment you live in, this City of Dreams, the strange powers you have, quirks and oddities for your character. It's very dynamic and a very intriguing world that you just want to dive into.
Yeah. I think Monte Cook Games have definitely mastered the whole, production values thing, haven't they?
Yeah. It's one you look at it and think, I don't know if we'll ever see its like again. But at the same time, I hope we kind of will.
Have you seen the Beadle and Grimm's Waterdeep thing for D&D?
Yeah.
$500, big box set full of props and maps and handouts and badges and all sorts of. It's one of these sort of really high concept sort of luxury products that presumably an entire group is going to sort of band together to buy. But $500, that thing, it's so expensive.
Yes, it's even more.
That makes my all-in Wrath and Glory scene.
Yeah. Anyway, we should move swiftly on. Shall we do the news?
We should.
Okay then. First up, a bit of D&D news. We've mentioned Joe I still don't know how to pronounce his name. Joe Manganiello before, have we not? Mm-hmm. With his D&D clothing line.
Times. He's got the Death Saves clothing line.
That's the one. Mm-hmm. So Joe Manganiello, of course, is an actor who was in True Blood, and I think he's DC character in the latest movies, Deadshot or someone. I can't remember who he is. He, Luke Gygax, Mike Mills, who is obviously the lead designer of the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons, and some other people. you can watch them play a high-level D&D game on YouTube. So, it's Mike Mills running a game for these celebrities.
Oh.
It's a high-level game. It's for a charity called Extra Life, which Wizards of the Coast supports every year. So it makes money for a children's hospital as well. But it's this high-level D&D game. It happened on July the 28th. I'm not sure how long it's been on YouTube. Not too long. I just stumbled across it the other day. I've started watching it. I'm only part way through right now, but it is fun to watch. It really is.
Fantastic. Well, we'll have to have a look at that in the show notes when the episode comes out, because that...
we'll put a link to that in the show notes, yeah.
Brilliant, yeah. High-level play is not something you see a lot of in 5th Ed, to be fair. Tends to be a lot of focus on levels 1 to 10.
So, Goodman Games, I don't know if you guys recall it, but they reincarnated the old D&D module into the Borderlands last year with a sort of big repackaged thing with 2 versions of the module in it, reprinted, plus a 5th edition conversion. Did very, very well for them. Apparently it was their sort of best-selling product ever. And they're following it up with another classic sort of old-school D&D module, which they're, again, sort of repackaging the various versions of it into one big book, including a 5th edition conversion. This time, it's The Art of Dredd. Do you guys remember that one?
Oh, yes, the big monster on the front with the tentacles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So The Art of Dredd, interestingly, was like the very first wilderness adventure. Before that, it was all, dungeon crawls were the thing you did in D&D.
Really?
There was a 10-foot room by a 10-foot room with an orc in the middle. And if you didn't like it, that was tough.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I have a sub rant about that. I shall tell you about.
So this is one of the first examples of a wilderness adventure. Sort of set on a tropical island. It's got dinosaurs and pirates and a hidden temple and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's coming back. Goodman Games, who sort of do these things under license of D&D.
Yeah, I've been actually playing some of their stuff because I discovered I think it's them who have already done a load of conversions for like 99p for all of the old modules. So we've been running the Slave Lords adventures, A1 to 4, with my group at work when we should probably be doing other things. And it's a sort of bare bones thing they've done for those, where you just get the stats redone. So you've got to have the actual module there as well. But those you can pick up in PDF now as well, for a lot of those have been re-released. And it's been great to do some nostalgia gaming, and the work on the conversion stuff is really top notch. They've really put them together very well, and it's just all there usually about 10 pages, I think, with everything, all the monsters and traps and everything resorted for 5th edition.
There's a market there for a product line. D&D, the stats redone.
Yeah.
Well, I suspect that's kind of what they're doing. They presumably it's been quite successful, them doing these little conversion packets. So now they thought, well, let's see if we can redo the whole module and repackage the whole thing. And it is doing very well for them.
Yeah, well done.
So Modiphius. We all know Modiphius, do we not?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They've announced something called the Unity RPG, currently in pre-order. It's a brand new RPG, so it's quite interesting. So it's called, as I said, the Unity RPG, 371-page RPG, sort of full-colour artwork and so forth. This is the description of it: sort of punished, forsaken, and left for dead by the divine hand that created them, 4 races must come together and unite against the grim horrors of a world set on fire. It doesn't say what system this is.
No.
Has anyone heard of this one?
Not at all, actually.
No.
I imagine it would be 2D20, given that's their house.
It's made for them by a company called Zensara Studios, so it might not be 2D20, because that's Modiphius' in-house system, but they do sort of distribute some stuff for other companies, don't they? And I think this is one of those.
Yes, they've got quite, because they're doing, I think, Siberum and the Tales from the Loop and all kinds of other things.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So this is this says it's a fantasy role-playing experience focused on spectacular storytelling, cinematic moments, deep character growth, and get this, a riveting combat system.
Everybody's armed with rivet guns.
Now I just really hope that's what it is.
Yeah,
I'll be disappointed if it's not.
Anything less will be disappointing.
There's some sample artwork up. You can check the URL in the show notes. Very, very nice full colour art. It says 9 classes, hundreds of power combinations, 4 factions, and then the usual stuff like deadly foes, powerful treasures, all that sort of stuff. That looks really interesting. A bit of 7th Sea news, Andy.
Yep.
Oh, go for it.
You're a big fan of 7th Sea.
It is. If I had to pick a favourite game of all time, it would be 7th Sea.
So what can you tell us then about Lands of Golden Fire?
Oh, well, I haven't. It's on my pile of things yet to read. It's the ongoing expansion of Thea, their world. As you may or may not know, the original 7th Sea was just based in Europe, and with 7th Sea 2nd edition, they've been gradually expanding the map. We've had the Aztec version of America. We've had the Caribbean with pirate nations. Now they've moved out to a continent they call Ilfrey, which is basically Africa.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And it's a whole book on various factions and the lands of Africa with swashbuckling adventure.
Yeah.
I think they've had a more diverse collection of writers, so it's very much drawn from real African culture. So they haven't just sort of invented stuff that looks cool. They've gone back to something, and I think they've got very much a focus. I mean, John Wick Productions has got a very big focus on getting more diverse writers involved, particularly as they got this world-spanning concept for 7th Sea. So there's a lot of interesting new voices, I think, coming through that. And it looks very much worth a look. And it's on my iPad. It's on my list of, because they write them too quickly. I'm still reading the Nations. I've just finished reading the Nations of Thea books because
this is off the back of a $1.3 million Kickstarter from a couple of years ago. So they've got they've got a lot of money, and they're presumably investing that in the product line at a ferocious rate.
Yeah, there's still a fair few books to come out. I think we've still got the Colonies and Secret Society.
I've got a little bit of news here about Legend of the Five Rings from Fantasy Flight Games.
Ooh.
The beginner box is already available for purchase. That includes player and GM books, custom dice tokens, maps, character folios, and it's kind of a streamlined sort of introductory version of the Genesis system, which they use for several of their RPGs now. Yep. Star Wars, all that sort of thing. Exactly. That's nice. So the full core rulebook is currently being printed. Will be in stores soon, and they've been teasing some of the sort of skill systems and descriptions of how checks will work in the game, overview of the character creation process, stuff like that. So there's quite a bit of news coming out about that. We'll stick the links to that in the show notes again. Beginner box, $44.95 retail price. The upcoming core rulebook, $49.95, and of course the special dice that you have to get separately, $12.95, because you can't play the Genesis system without them. Those dice that, to this day, I still don't know how to use.
I think they have actually upped the system a little bit from the previous one, because one of the things that, whilst I still think it works for Star Wars, and I've loved playing it, I always felt it needed a bit more guidance when you have roles that don't directly relate to specific character powers. And I think what they've done with the Five Rings is to give you more options, so you have dice that are one thing or another, so you can choose, well, do I keep the success options on this, or do I take the effect options on it, which give you a bit more choice, and maybe you might choose to fail because the results will be bad if you don't, and in other ways, where a bad straight failure might be better than a partial success in some cases. And
with hideous,
so I think they played around with it a little bit. It looked interesting, although I've not playtested it. But
so the next adventure in the Starfinder adventure path, they're doing a sort of experimental 3-issue adventure path for Starfinder. The sort of Pathfinder ones were always, I think, 6, weren't they? So 3 issues, and this one's called Against the Eon Throne. So the third adventure is now out, and it's called Escape from the Prison Moon. Sounds exciting. Will you adopt a zero-gravity plant? Can you get past the outlaw space station?
Begin this adventure with no equipment.
Make your stealth rolls.
Yeah, find out in Escape from the Prison Moon.
Escape from the dungeon of the slave lords in space.
That's getting a bit gore there, but moving swiftly on.
We've got sort of Pathfinder First Edition Adventure Path continuer. I assume these are going to be dying out very soon with the Pathfinder Second Edition playtest, in full gear. Coming mid-September, we got the second of the current series, Pathfinder Adventure Path number 134. It Came from Hollow Mountain. And then finally, we've got the Pathfinder Player Companion Planehopper's Handbook. Perfect for players who want to find characters that are weird and otherworldly, even for the strange folk of Galarion. Not only will there be spells, gear even, not gears, and magic items, but also expanded backgrounds from planar-influenced characters like Tieflings, Azamars, and Elemental Scions.
Exciting.
So there you go.
Yeah,
That's your monthly Pathfinder news.
Yes. A bit of a dash of Planescape for the Pathfinder players. Sounds very intriguing, yeah.
Mm.
Hello, I am here at the Perturbed Dragon Tavern where Malach the Maleficent.
Oh, you stupid man, it's Maleficent.
Maleficent.
The Maleficent.
Malach the Maleficent.
You're an idiot.
I know. But I am here interviewing Malach the Maleficent about his latest plans for world domination. I notice how many interviews have you done so far today here in this junket, Malach?
I've done 47.
47, so I'm number 48. So I do apologise if I end up covering ground that you may have covered already.
Well, go on then. Apologise.
I'm very, very sorry for covering ground that you've already covered already.
Fine. Carry on.
So, we're here to talk about your latest plan for world domination.
Yes.
So I understand that this particular plan involves rats in some manner.
I'm not sure how much I should tell you about my plans, actually. That's what I've been telling everyone else.
It has been noted that the rats around town have been disappearing, and I'm sure someone reported something about a large rat colossus looking over the town the other week.
Well, that sounds very unlikely, doesn't it?
It does sound like the sort of thing you would do.
Well, yes. I have been known to create gigantic biological monstrosities in the past, but why would I repeat the mistakes of the past? It didn't work last time, did it? You'll definitely fall for this.
Yes, I'm pretty sure we'll fall for this. So could you tell us maybe a little more about your sort of... Well, why don't you go into your background a little before we jump into your current plans?
You mean my mysterious and evil background?
That one, yes, yeah. So I understand you grew up in a convent.
Well, you would call it a convent. I would call it a hellhole.
Yes, it does seem to have scarred you deeply. I mean, what would you say was your sort of takeaway lesson from that period of your life?
Nuns taste much better if you pluck them first.
I see. So moving swiftly on, you entered the Evil Wizard Academy at the astonishingly early age of 14, I believe.
It was actually 13 and a half. They got my date wrong on the application form because the stupid yokels couldn't write.
Oh, I see. But you did pass with flying colours. You completed the 3-year course and came away with your diploma in evil wizardry.
I passed with all the colours, not just the flying ones, the digging ones and the swimming ones as well.
Very, very, very good. I mean...
Yes, I know. I am very, very good. I'm extremely clever, much cleverer than you.
Well, you are Malach the Maleficent.
Maleficent!
Maleficent.
If you get it wrong one more time, I will destroy you. And I will destroy your family, and I will destroy your friends, and I will destroy your entire town. So don't get it wrong again.
I will try not to. I do notice that of these sort of 47 journalists that have been here before, why are there 47 piles of dust over in the corner?
Some of their pronunciation was questionable.
Suboptimal.
Suboptimal, yes, that would be accurate, yes.
I shall do my best not to repeat their 47 mistakes.
Yes, you'd better. Although I do quite enjoy reducing people to ash, so no great loss.
Well, I mean, I'm sure my family would miss me.
They wouldn't miss you if they were dead.
No. I can't do this. I must leave.
Stop blabbering, you fool! Where's he gone? Well, I suppose I'll just talk to myself then. Where were we? We were talking about my glorious college days. Yes. Well, I spent 4 years at the college. That's 3 years less than most people have to spend there, the dullards. I spent 4 years there, and then I destroyed it, because I didn't like it very much. I destroyed it with fire. Yes, I do like fire. Rats are good too, but fire is my favourite way to destroy things. Yes. I wonder if he's coming back any time soon. You! Yeah, I can see you behind the table. Come here! Yes.
Hello?
Finish your interview, fool.
Right.
What's your next question? Come on.
Well,
I haven't got all day.
I was wondering what you would say your biggest mistakes were, your previous attempts at world domination.
Mistakes? I haven't made any mistakes.
Well,
what do you mean?
I must note that you have attempted to conquer the world 3 times now, and this is your 4th attempt.
I mean, mostly I just get bored. You know, there's only so much murder and mayhem you can do. Genocide just gets so samey.
Well, your first attempt involved summoning a demon from the pits of hell. What went wrong with that one?
Well, it turns out that demons are stupid. They're stupider than humans. So, it was stupid.
And your second attempt was to magically poison the water supply of the entire world.
Yes, well, it turns out the entire world drinks beer, not water, so that went well, didn't it?
And your third attempt, and this is the sort of probably the one we listeners will be most familiar with, was when you created a massive orc army with the intent to sort of march across the civilized world and conquer, plunder, and pillage all known civilization.
Well, you know what happened there, don't you? The orcs unionized. That's the problem with orcs. They always unionize, and then they wanted better pay and better conditions, and I didn't want to give it to them, and then they said I had to give it to them, and then I burned them with fire.
Yes. So, and so this fourth attempt involves a rat colossus.
Who told you that? Who said
well,
that?
Everyone's like seen it. I mean, it's 100 feet high. It's like outside.
100 feet high? 100? It's 200, if it's 1,000,000.
Oh, so you admit it does exist?
Yes.
So how are you going to sort of ensure that this particular attempt at world domination is going to succeed?
I'm not relying on anybody else this time. No demons, no poisoners, no legions of orcs. It's just me and my rat colossus, which does exactly what I say. It will march through the cities, eating everything it sees. There will be nothing to stop it because it's 250 feet tall, and it will destroy everything, and all the people will fall beneath it because it's 300 feet tall.
How tall is it, sorry?
At least 400 feet.
400 feet, you say?
Yes. Why?
I mean, it's not like I never want to argue or contradict you, but I mean, I can see it right now through the window, and it's standing right next to a bizarrely convenient giant vertical tape measure, and it's clearly 100 feet tall.
Perspective is a difficult thing for puny people like you to understand. It's
right.
Clearly taller than it looks.
Right. Okay. So I see we're running out of time, and you have some more journalists to talk to. Thank you very much, Malach the Maleficent.
What did you call me? What did you say?
Maleficent.
What did you say? How dare you mispronounce my name? It's very simple. I'm going to destroy you.
You know that people keep writing into us and asking us when is Judge Dredd going to be out? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? And we keep having to say, can't really say yet, not allowed to say.
I'm aware of
people
this.
Complain that there's no information, and they say, is it still coming? What's going on? Well, it's that time. We have got the go-ahead to talk.
Can it be? Can we actually talk about quite possibly 2018's most exciting 2000 AD related news? The Judge Dredd and Wolf 2000 AD role-playing game.
It's been
Why are you laughing at me? It's true. Was that not factually
2018
accurate?
and maybe even 2019. Yeah.
So we'll have to let the listeners in on a little secret here on why we've invited Darren and Andy onto the podcast. Do you want to reveal? Do you guys want to reveal why you're here? So Darren, why are you here?
I'm here because of Angus Abranson and you a couple of years ago now, is it?
That's it. Blame Angus.
Yeah, it's been a while now, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years ago when Angus phoned me one day and said, there's this role-playing game. I'm like, wow, cool. And I think you might really enjoy writing for it and being the lead writer on it, but I can't tell you what it is. And I'm like, wow. Okay,
sign me up.
But preliminary, I'll be interested. He said, well, and so on. And then about 5 minutes later, he rang me back after speaking to you and said, okay, I'm allowed to tell you what it is. I don't know if you're a fan or not, but this is Judge Dredd and the Waltz of 2000 AD, the role-playing game. It took me 0.1 of a second to say yes.
Yes, you let out a mighty squeak.
Huge Judge Dredd fan. Massive Judge Dredd fan. I grew up with the comic, like many of you. And when I was asked to be the lead writer on it, like I said, 1 point, point per second. Yes, I'm in. That's why I'm here, because I wrote a lot of the fluff.
Yes, so Darren is the sort of lead writer on the core rulebook of Judge Dredd and the Worlds of 2000 AD. Yeah. I did the mechanics, Darren did the fluff, basically. With some other people, but they're not on the podcast, so we don't have to talk about them, do we?
Okay. Well, make on the podcast, they don't count.
Andy, what's your involvement in this little
I got brought
plot?
in to write the Robot Wars book, mostly because when I heard about this, I said to Angus, who is just a good person to blame for everything, I think, generally. I said, the Robusters and all those robot ones sound really interesting. He said, well, there's a Robot Wars. I said, okay, I'll give that a go. And I was very glad you gave me a free rein to write some utterly gonzo robots.
I don't think you've seen the finished product yet, have you?
Well, I have been flicking through.
It's looking really good. So, Robot Wars is, of course, the first sort of source book / adventure we're bringing out for it.
I'm excited.
We are allowed to talk about it, so I can sort of exclusively announce. When I say exclusively, I don't mean exclusively in the slightest. I mean the opposite of exclusively, because it's basically being announced everywhere I possibly can. Yeah. But the Kickstarter is coming. It is coming.
Yes.
So the Kickstarter is launching on Tuesday.
Yes.
September 25th, 5 p.m. GMT, which, if my time zones are correct, for you Americans out there, that's 10 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Central time, and 1 p.m. ET. That's Eastern time, isn't it? Not extraterrestrial.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yes. So the Kickstarter is launching on the 25th. And in that Kickstarter, we will have the big colour hardcover core rulebook, the special edition exclusive version of the core rulebook with the alternate cover, a GM screen, Andy's Robot Wars soft colour adventure stroke source book, and even some special Judge Dredd dice.
Ooh.
It was all quite exciting. So I thought maybe we could just sort of dive into these a little bit. I mean, maybe there might be some people out there, some poor, unfortunate people, and I do feel so very, very, very sorry for them, who don't really know what Judge Dredd and 2000 AD are, or they hear Judge Dredd and all they think of is Sylvester Stallone, and that's an unfortunate situation to be in.
But not the infinitely superior Carl.
More recent, better movie.
So how about Darren? How about you tell us what is not just Judge Dredd, but what is 2000 AD?
That's a massive question.
Well, let's try not to make it too long.
What is it to me?
Most of my childhood is the short answer.
Go on, what is it to you? What is 2000 AD to you?
It's an epic memory, actually. My nan introduced me to 2000 AD. She came in the one day with a comic. And it was unlike any comic I'd seen before. This was 2000 AD. It was issue 1. And I sat down and I read through it about 7 times. Throughout the day, pretty much, and it was just totally different. All these different stories, all these different characters. And it was mature. That's the thing. It wasn't a comedy comic. I mean, yeah, there's black humour, there's dark humour, but satire. This was...
Yes, there's satire in there, and there's...
This was for a young person like me who was just sort of getting started in sort of like the revolution of music and so on. This was like the greatest hits of all these new bands I was hearing about. And it was just like, these stories were science fiction. They were future. They were shocking. They handled mature subjects that I've never seen handled in a comic. You know, we got the Beano, we got the Dandy and all that. But then there's 2000 AD with Judge Dredd, and that was mind-blowing. I'd heard, you know, about Dredd from various comic strips in newspapers, but to see a comic with this Dredd character, and with all these new characters that weren't the classic sort of comic characters, it was mind-blowing, really. So to me, 2000 AD is a great memory of my childhood. And it's just a superb science fiction roller coaster of different disparate stories with dystopian and other things.
Yeah. I mean, just to be clear to the listeners, 2000 AD itself is kind of an anthology comic in that it's not just Dredd. There's dozens and dozens of them, isn't there? I mean, have you got a few favourites?
We have a list of about 150, Ross?
Yeah. Have you got a few favourites that you'd like to sort of like...
Oh. Well, obviously Dredd.
Yeah. Well, that's the one that everyone's heard of.
That's the one everyone's heard of. The one I really love is Nemesis the Warlock.
Right.
Which is one of the... As Andy will tell you, I've waxed lyrical numerous times when I've met him and talked about Nemesis the Warlock.
Oh, yeah. I'd always kind of imagine a lot of Nemesis might well have been an inspiration for some of the Warhammer 40,000 stuff.
I could certainly see that, yeah.
I always think the 2000 AD and Warhammer 40,000 walk hand in hand.
What about you, Andy? Well, if you would sort of like just pick a sort of favourite non-Dredd storyline from 2000 AD?
Well, I'm quite, in some ways, I'm quite new to it because one of the things I've actually loved doing, for want of a better term, research, i.e. Sitting down and reading comics.
This is the best
when
job.
Catching up on some of the early Dredd stuff.
It's hard work being a freelancer.
It's very tough. I've fought my way through it, and it's you know, for EN World, you know, I'm prepared to make that sacrifice. You know.
Such dedication.
The thing that actually most interested me, I mean, I used to very much love Rogue Trooper. Was probably one of my favourites. Side that, but now having seen the EN World listing of here's the other things we're looking at doing, the thing I did check up that I've got very into recently is Absalom.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
You might like Absalom, Andy.
Yeah, I'm a fan there. Yeah.
Yeah, very quickly become my favourite. It's like John Constantine's grandpa with a mixture of Gene Hunt from Life on Mars, goes and sorts out demon possession and the supernatural by smoking heavily, drinking and putting the boot in.
Exactly.
In a sort of old school
Classic
1970s copper. Yeah. With a lot of people saying, absolutely, you can't do that. It's like, well, do you want the demons to possess people or do you not? Right.
Yeah. No, I am super keen on covering that one. That's a favourite, right, definitely. You know, there's so many sort of worlds of 2000 AD, and obviously this book we're producing, this first book, the core rule book, we're only describing Mega City 1 and the sort of world of Judge Dredd in this particular book. But this book is kind of like the core rule book that will be used for all of the settings that we're going to produce later. So when you want to play, I don't know, Rogue Trooper, for example, you'll get a Rogue Trooper setting book. It won't have the core rules in it. That's in this hardcover book we're kickstarting now. It'll just have all the setting material, new careers, new information, all that sort of stuff, plus adventures and so forth that you can use alongside the core rulebook.
And I imagine as well to say part of this will be not just we've done one setting book, one sort of core rule book, and then nothing will ever change. You know, we're going to adapt this system so it suits each world, you know, bespoke and tailor-made. Aren't we? It's, you know, we're not going to throw everything out, I'm sure, but,
yeah. Well, you know, we're also going to see what is popular and what is not. At the moment, we can't really announce what we've got planned for the future because, as I said, we have to get approval on everything, and what we've got approval on is the things that we've announced. But what I did want to point people to was the official website, which is worldsof2000adrpg.com. And if you head over there, there is a countdown to the Kickstarter, a nice big image of all the books and the GM screen and the dice and stuff like that. But more importantly, there's this wonderful trailer, which I love. Have you guys seen it?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
That's been on YouTube as well, hasn't it? Yeah.
Good music.
Lovely, lovely trailer.
stuff.
And there's a mailing list you can sign up for to be notified when the Kickstarter launches. And I do very much encourage people to sign up for that because, you want to get in quickly and snap up that sort of limited edition sort of hardcover. It's going to look absolutely gorgeous. Andy, so you worked on the Robot Wars. Could you just sort of really quickly explain what the Robot Wars is?
Well, it's the first major sort of multi-issue plotline that happened in Judge Dredd, which, as you might imagine, takes place where robots realise they've had enough of being treated the way they are treated appallingly in Mega City 1.
Yeah.
And under the leadership of a robot called Call Me Kenneth, they have a mass uprising. And it, as is, not for what will be the only time, but certainly for the first time, Mega City 1 is almost destroyed in the carnage that goes on because, of course, in Mega City 1, everyone relies on robots to do everything.
Exactly.
And they are everywhere.
That's why the unemployment rate's something like 90%, isn't it?
Yes.
That's right, yeah. 90%.
And what I particularly loved about doing this book was that the robots are utterly crazy. There is, they are, their personalities are strange and interesting because they're very one-track minded. They can be, there's a mixture of, they can be quite often, Dredd has his Walter, which is his, for want of a better
Walter
term,
the robot, yes.
sort of servant, pet robot, best friend, whether he likes it or not.
I'm currently playing through the Robot Wars on Thursday nights, actually. About halfway through now. But, I haven't quite found a voice for Walter the Wobot yet.
Yes.
I'm still working on that one. They've literally just met him and just sort of, and they're about to leave their sort of section house and sort of head over to Call Me Kenneth's factory. I'm kind of spoiling the adventure a bit here, aren't I? I should probably not reveal too many details, but they just defeated the heavy metal kids, which were attacking the section house, and Walters volunteered his services.
Yes. I mean, this is what we've tried to do with this. We should say to people, it's not just the main adventure is play through what Dredd did. Obviously, you can do all those situations of the way Dredd got involved in things, but I've written it so you can be Dredd's sidekicks, or you can take Dredd's place, or you can get involved in other things that Dredd wasn't involved in.
Or interesting, you could play a perp or a civilian, and there's an adventure in there called Saving Matt Damon Block.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a more local scale thing where you're part of a particular block in the midst of all this, and you have to deal with the robot uprising in your area.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say it's also a bit of a love story, isn't it?
Yes. I'm a big fan of romance, and if I can even put it in with
robot
Judge
love.
Dredd,
There's nothing like robot love.
The things I could say.
And it's love. It's not something sullied with lust and things.
It's pure.
It's pure. It's a beautiful thing.
That's what Castrol GTX wasn't invented for.
So I was thinking, sort of, Peter, you're the only one here who hasn't worked on this, but you are very, very interested in it. Why don't you shoot us some questions, maybe, and we'll do our best to field them. I think that might be fun. We might not be able to, but we'll give it a go. We'll give it a shot.
Well, I did take the liberty of writing a couple down. So let's see. Judge Dredd. The original game was released in the 1980s by Games Workshop, I think.
Yes,
and then there was
correct.
an 02 version by Mongoose, which was D20 with 14 supplements.
Yeah.
And then a later 09 version, again by Mongoose, using Travellers. So
yes, that is correct.
I suppose the question which I have seen online when talking about it, and which other people have, is what makes yours an exciting new take?
Yeah, Darren, you field this one.
For me, the key thing is the system, because I like D6 systems. So for me personally, playing or running a Judge Dredd game with a D6 system, I'm instantly familiar with D6 systems. But world-wise, this is Dredd in 2099. This is basically after a series of disastrous global wars. The planet's been reduced to radioactive wasteland. There's vast stretches of this which are completely uninhabitable. You've got radiation, mutated horrors, make their home in the cursed earth, and you've got Mega City. And Judge Dredd. Dredd is just raw on the streets. There's no wall around Mega City 1 at the moment. We haven't reached that point in the comic. So ours is Dredd right from the start. This is where it all kicked off. So to me, it's really special because this is the first Dredd I ever read. So to be able to write the first Dredd is pretty much the same feeling I got from writing the first Doctor book for Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space, the William Hartnell one. So, yeah, I think the reason ours is good is because we take it right back to the beginning, 2099, and we've taken a really good look at Mega City 1. So if you're a Dredd fan and you're not a role-playing game fan, this book is good as resource for 2000.
I think that's a point that can't be reiterated enough, that even if you don't want to play an RPG, there's so much sort of background and setting material in there that it's a lovely sort of coffee table book. You could just sit down there and read sort of chapters about Mega City 1 and so forth. And, you know, you don't have to read the sort of game mechanics chapter. You can, you know.
I worked extensively with Nick, and we put together a huge list of locations from Mega City 1.
Andy, what would you say is the thing that makes this the definitive version?
I think certainly I certainly only played the first Games Workshop one. I don't think I played the Mongoose one. But one of the things that's very particular to this one is the ability to play civilians and perps as well.
Yeah, I love that.
And not just to throw them in as extra characters in a group. We've almost got two different levels of play with this. You can play judges, or you can play whole other campaigns on the lowest.
I mean, it can be so much fun to sort of play as a perp and just, you know, you're just hoping you don't run into a judge.
That's it. And that's when I was looking when we were writing the crime blotters. I had to write the crime blotters that I did for judges, for citizens and perps, and that was great fun because you have to think in three different ways.
Yes, because while it's great to be playing Judge Dredd or someone like that, what's also more evocative is have your characters go, "Drock it's Dredd, run!" You know, and you want to be able to do that too.
It's such a big city and such a rich setting that you could play for ages without running into a judge. It's not like they're omnipresent, is it? So you know, it's
why there's so much crime.
Yeah, exactly. It's a crime place, and
everyone thinks they're going to be lucky, and they're not going to be the one that runs into a judge.
And I mean, face it, you know, we have the uplifted animals as well, so you could play a crime-laden ape if you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's nothing greater than having that feeling where you go, you know, drop the bananas, it's Dredd, move it.
Oh, it's fun the sort of different character options you've got in this, because as you said, we can do perps, civilians, and of course judges. But the different races you can choose from. So we've got humans, we've got clones, we've got robots, we've got various ape, and of course we've got mutants as well, available as characters, not as judge characters obviously, but as characters with a whole set of different mutant powers you might have. So there's a whole massive range of sort of characters you can play in this game, not just judges.
Yeah, there's lots of options, and I think that's another good point to answer the question, why is ours cool? Why is ours good? Because we give you a lot of options. I'm into player agency.
And going back to the way you said we start at the beginning, Darren, I think it's interesting because our plan, as you obviously know, is we're going to work our way, for the Judge Dredd stuff, sort of not counting any other 2000 AD stuff, we're going to work our way through his chronology, which is why we started with the Robot Wars.
Yeah.
And then we'll be moving on to Luna 1 is going to be our next one.
Yep.
Then the Curse stuff. We're going to go through each of Dredd's sort of main storylines one at a time. And allow players to sort of play either as a judge or play a sort of civilian or perp adventure within that sort of time period. Yeah. And also present in each one, looking at how you approached, Andy, how you approached the Robot Wars. You included expanded rules for robot player characters.
Yes, there's a lot of that because they are so different to humans.
And also you included a sort of crime blotter in the a lot of the sort of smaller adventures that Dredd had sort of in that period, which wouldn't be big enough to expand for an entire sort of like 150-page adventure on their own.
Yeah.
We've got sort of like a chapter which just like goes through various, in the Robot Wars, various sort of smaller adventures which took place between then and the next big storyline, which was Luna 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of little, there's one issue stories that in some cases are just little encounters.
Yeah,
but they haven't been forgotten at all. And there's a load
like
of
Frankenstein 2, it's like a giant robotic gorilla, was it Krong? Yeah. And things like that.
Yeah. And there's some loads of stuff. And of course, we provide all the stats for that if you want to play those out, and you can bring them into other adventures, or even play them as sub-adventures within the Robot Wars, because there's quite a large block of time these big campaigns happen over, and there's lots of opportunity for doing little adventures within that aren't actually related to the main campaign, because it's not the only crime that's going on, and a lot of criminals and things are going to take opportunities when the judges are busy. So there's a lot of ways to mix and match stuff into that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's good that you've kind of set the template for that line, actually, because we've got someone working on Luna 1 and Cursed Earth at the moment, and they've basically got a copy of your Robot Wars manuscript, and we've told them, that's the essential template you're going to start with. So you've kind of set the template for that line, and I think it works really, really well. I'm using it on Thursday nights, like I said. It's great fun.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. It's like, and Darren knows this from both working on the Doctor Who things. It's always great when, if you set these things up at the start, that you know that you're going to have a series of books that all will follow the same system and thing. And Cubal 7 managed this with all the Doctor source books, because there's so many other games where you see they don't set it up, or then they change it halfway through and the trade just changes, and you're sort of going, but I want my set to be complete from day one. And having set it up right from the start, then we're going to deliver that with 2000 AD.
So Peter, have we answered your question?
You've answered all my questions, definitely. I think
that a satisfactory answer to your question?
Yeah, it sounds like you're taking the worlds of 2000 AD back to their roots, addressing the initial starting worlds of Judge Dredd, a mega city one without walls, an arbitrary executioner, unchallenged lawman, an anti-democratic and authoritarian roams the streets and is the hero, but there's a lot of British sci-fi properties which, from that time, were basically parodies of that sort of authoritarian mindset, that sort of fascism. Do people still understand that it's a parody? I mean, I have, unfortunately, in the wild, actually met someone who enjoys Judge Dredd, has sort of almost a power fantasy. They don't see the irony that this would be a terrible place to live. They think 2000 AD, it would be a great place to live.
Everyone gets something different from everything. I mean, I guess there's no sort of non-valid, if you get something from it and you enjoy it, then fine, whatever. But, obviously it is a dark satire, it's a parody, it's always been intended as such. Whether people realise it is, I think people familiar with it do. I think possibly a lot of people who are only familiar with it maybe because of the Stallone film, or maybe the more recent Carl Urban one. Maybe they do just think it's kind of like a straight action property. Perhaps, I don't know. I couldn't answer that question, I guess. But
and Nemesis the Warlock, I think it was Darren, wasn't it? You said he was one of your favourites, and that was really interesting because, put my hands up, not as familiar, but he's he's the alien, he's the other, and actually the main antagonists, those are actually racist humans that they're fighting against.
Yeah, the world of Termite is basically Earth in the far distant future. You've got aliens everywhere. Yeah. Torquemada hates all alien life. I mean, he really, really hates every single alien. Then you have Nemesis the Warlock, who's billed as the Master of Chaos, spelled with a K. He's a freedom fighter for alien rights. So you've got this really interesting story going on. And player characters in that will be able to do all sorts of things. You can be the alien, which is an interesting thing. Because normally we play humans. It's rare that we get to play aliens unless we play something like Starfinder.
Exactly, yeah.
Where there are actually aliens, like the Ahsoka. So, in Nemesis, you could play human sympathizers. You could play resistance agents. You can have citizens of Termite. And then you can have, like Nemesis. You could, in theory, actually have a player play Nemesis. That would be like the Doctor in Doctor Who with the companions. That should be fantastic. But yeah, you're right. It is very much a parody of that kind of thing. In terms of the comic at the time, because 2000 AD was a master of that.
Yeah, I mean,
I imagine with all these things that if people don't get it's a parody after reading the comics, reading the role playing game and playing the game, then there's not much we can do. It's pretty clear how where this is meant to come about. I think. I think anyone who you have to say to them, by the way, dude, fascism is bad, then they're probably lost to any sort of sense in the first place. Anyway,
But do you think the anti-racist, anti-authoritarian messages of the source material, do you think that's come through in your writing?
I suppose every writer brings their own biases to things. So, I remember when I did Victoriana, someone made us a a comment about that. It's a sort of fantasy Victorian world, and some review or comment online said, "Oh, it was very anti-capitalism." Things are going, well, I didn't think I'd specifically written anti-capitalism thing, but I generally said that greed is bad and oppressing the poor is wrong, and if they'd taken that as an anti-capitalism message, then it's up to them. So, people will take what you do, as in this world of Brexit and Trump, we have discovered there's some very disparate viewpoints on a lot of issues that most of us might think it's not so wide apart on.
I thought maybe I might run through the contents of the book.
Yeah.
That's listeners that might be interested. I've got the contents page up in front of me here. So we've got 10 chapters basically. It's a 270-page book. Obviously, it's full color. The entire style of it is very comic book, as you've seen. It's I think it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It's like a coffee table comic book.
Oh, can I say, by the way, I particularly liked that you got like different chapters of different colours. I thought that was a very nice design.
So each chapter has a different sort of black background colour.
Makes it so much easier.
I also love the way that
just to find where you are. I also
love the way our layout designer, a guy called Nimrod Jones, is a Welsh guy, as you might guess from the name.
Good man.
Yeah, he's done some wonderful work with some sort of like comic strip examples of play and stuff that are sprinkled throughout the books. And I don't know how he's done this. It's just done so well. But basically, you got like an example of character creation, an example of play, a bit in the equipment chapter, and it's just this comic strip of a sort of character just sort of equipping themselves, ready for their first mission and stuff like that. And those pages just pop right out at you. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. But anyway, I'll shoot through the contents then. So chapter 1 just got the introduction. Same sort of thing you get in most RPGs. There's a what's an RPG, example of play, a glossary, stuff like that. Introduction to the various worlds of 2000 AD comes in chapter 2. So we briefly, obviously this book is focused on Mega City 1, but we very briefly, we dive into what we've got. We've got ABC Warriors, Absalom, Ace Trucking Company, Cabalistics, Inch, Defoe, DR and Quinch, Flesh, Indigo Prime, Mac 1, Necronauts, Nemesis the Warlock, Nikolai Dante, the Red Seas, Robo Hunter, Rogue Trooper, Sinister Dexter, Slain, Strontium Dog, The Ballad of Halo Jones, and the VCs.
The VCs.
Yeah, of course, that's not necessarily the only things we're going to ever cover, but, they're the ones we sort of squeeze into this chapter just to have a very, very brief overview of the various different sort of properties of 2000 AD.
Certainly enough to be getting along with for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Obviously, they're all going to be supplements coming later. They're not described in any more detail in this book than in the sort of introductory chapter. Then we had the character creation section, which is a good sort of 70 odd pages. What's sold as new character creation is that's the system we're using, is a career system. If you're creating a judge, for example, and actually we've got a video on the website of a guy called Whack Steven who does a live stream called Warped for the What's Sold as New system. And he is, I can reveal here, going to be running a live stream of Judge Dredd and the Wars of 2000 AD very soon. Assuming the Kickstarter meets a very, very reasonable stretch goal. Yeah, so he's got a character creation video, which you can watch right now, just to see how to create a judge character. But you can also create, obviously, or a civilian. You select various careers. You select an origin. It's a career. If you're familiar with Traveller, it's not a vastly, there's an inspiration from Traveller there and an inspiration from early Woof as well, where you take various careers one at a time. So a judge would take, for example, the cadet career, then he'll take some academy curriculum careers, then he'll take the rookie career, then he might take, med judge or sci judge or tech judge. And then he might go on to take some...
He might even take the hot dog run.
He might even do the hot dog run. And then he might go on to some specialty judge careers like a Holocaust judge or an exorcist or a senior judge or, various things like that. So the system lets you sort of take careers one at a time to sort of like make building blocks, developing your character throughout his life.
Yes. What I would add that I very much liked when we were playtesting all that time ago was that if you don't pick a sci judge or a med judge or a tech judge on those specialties, there's still a load of different specialties that for a, in inverted commas, ordinary judge might pick.
Yeah,
it's not just you
like
pick
a desk judge.
There's not a sort of, none of the judge options are just the vanilla boring one or something. They've all got some really cool, interesting bits and pieces. It's a lot of variety.
It is kind of fun, kind of trying to make sort of some of the careers sort of viable sort of player careers, like a desk judge. You might at first blush sort of think, yeah, interesting, good for an NPC maybe, but what player's going to want to do that? But you're whacking a few interesting sort of exploits for that, like their ability to requisition twice as much equipment as a regular judge, just because they know the bureaucracy, they know what paperwork to fill in and stuff like that, and give them a few little bits of pieces, and suddenly they become quite effective player characters while still remaining kind of on point as being a desk judge, not, you know.
Well, I remember the old White Dwarf April Fool thing of years and years ago where they had the accounts department judges. They had all the detail for the GW one.
Yeah,
I remember that.
One particular judge career that might be fun is the old Wally Squad there.
Ooh.
Yeah, do you want to explain what the Wally Squad is there, Darren?
Oh yeah, the Wally Squad. Yeah, basically the Wally Squad are the pretty much the undercover judges, and they get to dress up in all kinds of roles and jobs, and they do all sorts of cool stuff. And they're a great story sort of character for a player, because you can find them anywhere, and they can be any kind of thing. They can be masquerading as, backgliders to try and get into an illegal smuggling ring, or there's an adventure
and they
straight
do look
away
like
off
Wallies.
the top of my head.
Which,
the Wally Squad judge. And they do look like Wallies. That's the thing. If you look at images of Wally Squad judges, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah. Just to explain for our American listeners, a Wally would be a stupid person or one who's just not very cool. Exactly. So, by dressing like idiots, they merge in seamlessly with the population.
Which are mostly idiots in Megacity 1.
Well,
sorry, that's our character creation chapter. Lots of careers for judges, lots of careers for perps, and lots of careers for civilians.
Now, is the game balanced to have a mixed party? Because that would be like something that one would assume would go straight away.
Mechanically, you can. Thematically, that might be a little more difficult, sort of mixing judges and
you can do what you
perps
want
and stuff into a party. I mean, if you could think of a rationale for it, go for it, whatever. There's nothing mechanically stopping you do that. But balance-wise, yeah, because you just basically got to assume that player characters aren't typical characters. They aren't the 7 billion people in Megacity 1. They're the special ones. They're the heroes of this adventure. So that's why it's perfectly okay for you to have a player character perp or a player character civilian who's the equal of a judge.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the heroes of the story.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if you're perps, you're going to be more like the Angel Gang or like that, the ones that really stand out.
You're not going to be just some random dunk pickpocket or something like that who's just going to be stomped on by the first judge you come across. Because you're a player character, you're a special perp, you're a special civilian.
Although there is a fun one night possibility of you're all perps. Let's see who can outrun Judge Dredd for the longest. You can have a lot of fun with a one nighter.
Yes, yeah. Well, I always like the idea of sort of running a perp career, and you're just treating the judges as kind of like monsters almost. Like the creatures, like the dragons of a Dungeons and Dragons game, the creatures you don't want to encounter. It's like, you're okay, you're fighting against rival gangs maybe, other mobs or something like that. But when a judge arrives on scene, you're like...
Yeah, it's that kind of effect you get when you're doing D6 Star Wars. When you're fighting stormtroopers, it's fine. But if Darth Vader comes around the corner, it's head the opposite direction.
Exactly, yeah.
Nope, right out there. Absolutely.
I wanted to put a little sort of nod to one of my favourite exploit pairings in this game. It's the Street Judge has a couple of exploits he can take. Exploits are the sort of one-off abilities that you can use.
The edges.
Maybe like... Yeah, or like feat, D&D or something like that. So an exploit gives you a special ability or power you have, or an advantage you have, or a piece of equipment. It could be anything. So it could be your character gets a high quality pistol. It could be your character can climb at the same speed he can walk or run. It could be like one of the two following ones I'm about to list. So I like the Street Judges, amongst others, have one called No Collateral Damage. Which basically means normally when you're firing into melee, you're going to suffer a penalty to do that because it's difficult to do. Say Perp's got the woman as a hostage holding a gun to her head, and Judge Dredd shoots this exploit, no collateral damage, and basically it means that you suffer no penalty to just shoot the guy in the head, despite the fact that he's holding a hostage or he's in melee with your friend or whatever. But that's not the fun bit. That's one exploit. The next one is called collateral damage. So instead of no collateral damage, we have collateral damage. And it's like, sometimes maybe it is worth injuring your friend. And what happens is you can shoot through your friend. And you do damage to your friend or to the hostage or whatever. But you do double damage to the perp. Yeah, so when a perp is engaged in melee combat with your dice stick wielding judge companion, and you're there trying to get a bead on him and you can't quite do it, you can just say, what the hell? I'm just going to shoot through his arm anyway.
Bob, I've got a special ability. Don't use the special ability, John. Yeah, no, Bob, it's great. I've got a special ability.
Can I switch my lawgiver to high X? Don't do that.
It's all right.
Plus, well, come on, mate. I spent some points on this ability. I've got to use it sooner or later. Yeah, not on my character.
I am fond of those. That little pairing. Anyway, let's move on because we're whipping through the book here. So the equipment chapter is next. We've got 40 odd pages there. Includes obviously sort of general gear, weapons, armor,
stun gas,
drugs, cybernetics,
givers...
even a big section on vehicles, including of course your law masters and your power boards for your surf gliders.
Nice. Yeah, I'm very pleased to see that the lawgivers have all the.
We got the lawgiver in there, obviously, with its various different
important.
ammunition types, which you can switch between. And I think we've done. Do you remember, Andy, when we were trying to? This is about 2 years ago, I think, and we were in that caravan out in the New Forest, and we were playtesting the game, and we were just trying all these different combinations of how each sort of ammo type should work, so that each one. You know, none of them are so overpowering that you're just going to switch it to high X and just keep it on that the entire time. Because that just defeats the entire point of it. And we were
that was one of the things I very much liked, that we were all swapping around different ammo types and things. It wasn't one, just what does the most damage is all you need.
Yeah.
It was, even at that stage. Yeah.
So then we go on to the just the sort of general play in the game chapter, which basically explains the core mechanic, which is it's a dice ball system. Woo-hoo. You have an attribute. And you have skills, and you can combine any attribute with any skill. So the GM might, you might be climbing a wall, for example. The GM might call for an agility check, and you can, if you have the climbing skill, you can add your climbing skill to that. Or if you haven't, you're just rolling agility. The beauty of that system is it's super simple and fast to use, but you can combine any attribute with any skill. So I've seen some really bizarre combinations where people have combined intuition with engineering, and it makes perfect sense at the time why we would use that particular pairing. And the GM makes the call, what attribute and what skill are going to be used in this case, and you come up with all sorts of different combos. So you form a dice pool and then you roll to hit a target number. It's a little more complicated than that with a sort of dice cap and critical successes and things, but that's the basics of it. Super quick and easy to use. It really is. In combat, each character has 2 actions which they're free to use in any way they wish. They can move twice, they can fire twice, they can move and fire, they can fire and move, they can aim. I'm quite fond of the countdown pool. I love using it. So the way you use the countdown pool is the GM sets a countdown. It might be, say, like a 4d6 countdown. And this is when you have an amount of time that you're counting down to, but you don't know how long that time is. Maybe there's a bomb that's going to go off sometime soon, and you've got to accomplish a task before that happens. Or maybe, it's you're able to disable the security cameras in a period of time, but you don't know exactly how long that is. Things like that. So it adds an element of tension to it. It's almost like a Jenga-like element of tension to it. So each round, or each minute, or each hour, or each day, whatever the duration of the thing is, you roll this countdown pool, which might be 4d6. You'd roll those 4d6. If any come up 6s, you remove them, chuck them aside. And so, say 2 of them came up 6s, you've got 2 left. The next round, or the next minute, or whatever, you roll those 2d6, and it's like, phew, no 6s there. Okay, the next round, you roll them again. Oh no, one's come up a 6, I'm down to 1 dice now. Yeah. And you've got no idea when you're going to run out of dice. So even the GM doesn't know. It's quite a tense kind of thing, and it works so well to build tension in the game.
Yeah, because you've got that terror. As if you've got a dice pool of 4d6, there is a slim chance of rolling all 6s.
There is. It's not likely, to be fair, but there is a chance.
There's the bomb, but there is that chance.
Yeah, and I think that works really, really well. Right, chapter 6. Then we move on to Mega City 1. Woo-hoo! We have a big old chapter, about 30 odd pages, just describing the history. I mean, you wrote this in chapter, and it's entirety, Darren. I think I even touched this one.
This was a massive research. This was a massive research project. I went through tons of early 2000 AD stuff.
This is the stuff that's really going to appeal also to like the non-role players out there.
Yeah,
because
when we were
it's
talking
just like
about
a
the
coffee
start.
table book. You could just sit there and read about the city. You've got the history. You've got lists of dozens of locations.
But yeah, I mean, we've got like all sorts of things in Mega City 1, and I went through a lot of early Dredd.
Yeah, do you want to call out a few of your favourites, maybe?
Let's have a look at the Gazetteer. Like you said, we've got the history, we've got the city, but then we've got the locations of Mega City 1. An iconic location, the Academy of Law. I mean, that is one of the most iconic ones. Yeah. This is where the judges get trained. This is the toughest school on Earth. And that's in comics, that's in our write upon it. The Academy of Law. And what I like about the Gazetteer as well, we've got bits in there to tell you how you can use the Academy of Law in the game and how you can use it as judges, perps, and citizens. So, for instance, with the Academy of Law, you can have judges, called in to supervise cadets. You could take a group of rookies on a hot dog run. This isn't basically to take them down to the corner place to pick up hot dogs. A hot dog run in Judge Dredd is you take these young, enthusiastic rookies out into the cursed earth. And if they survive, they become judges when they come back. If they don't, well, the cursed earth has got plenty of places for them to decay or worse. And,
so what other exciting locations have we got in here then?
Oh, the Black Museum. That's an interesting place. This is the most notorious solved cases. So the city draws a lot of money, actually, Mega City 1, from taking citizens around there and making them pay to view the Black Museum. One of the prisons as well. I'm just thinking one of my favourites is Devil's Island.
That's not a good place to get sent, is it?
No, only the most violent, dangerous perps are sentenced to Devil's Island. And basically what it is, it's a giant traffic island with vehicles travelling non-stop down these highways and megaways all day and night. And so if you try to escape, good luck. You've got to cross roads where things are in excess of 400, 500 miles an hour constantly. The Grand Hall of Justice, Empire State Building, you name it, we've pretty much got.
Just looking through some of my sort of favourites in there. Let's have a look. You've the Mega City Chamber of Horrors. That looks fun. The movie special effects museum. I do like the idea of that one. Yeah. Statue of Judgment, the Agro Domes, the Transatlantic Tunnel, the Jungle / Ape Town, various alien
That's
zoos.
right. That's a good one.
Dream Palaces, the ISO blocks, of course, and
yep.
And if you were to sort of like venture outside Mega City 1, what sort of locations could you find there?
Well, Cursed Earth for a one. There's all the other mega cities as well.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad to see Britsit gets a mention.
Yeah, Britsit. There's all the Sov block stuff as well, which comes into the Apocalypse War.
We've got Luna 1. We've got Titan Penal Colony, because there is a Space Corps career available to judges. And then we got a section of events here, a big old glossary of Mega City 1 terms. Which
that was fun to go through and to find various things.
Nice little table of laws and crimes and their sort of standard punishments. What I like what we've done about that is the GM screen has, on the player-facing side of the GM screen, we've got those laws and their punishments, those crimes and their punishments. Because that's the sort of information...
Clever.
Any Judge Dredd game I've ever played, people have always stopped at that point and they go, right, what's an appropriate punishment for
scrawling?
Pickpocketing? Oh, should we have a look in the book? And that's the sort of thing you should have on hand. So it's going to be right on the front of the GM screen, facing the players.
That's it. You catch the likes of Chopper scrawling. How much time do you give him for scrawling? 1 month.
Absolutely.
2 years. And as a player, you can just look at it and go, it's 1 month and 2 years for scrawling perp.
Chapter 7, we have a big old chapter on Game Master Advice, and this just tells you how to set up an adventure, how to use props, music, different types of campaigns for judges, perps, and civilians, types of scenarios.
I did like that bit.
I think I wrote some of that.
That was really strong. Well, yeah, that was really strong. I like the advice, for the citizens, because to me it was not obvious how you would have citizens be involved.
Yeah.
Or have a party, because we're looking at basically thematically, it doesn't make sense to have a mixed party. So you want all perps, all citizens, or all judges.
If you just think about
what do citizens do?
A life of a citizen in this insane city.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. I mean, you could be a bunch of citizens trying to defend your block against a bunch of perps. And, you might not see a judge for like 6 months because, it's a city of 7 billion people. So you got to deal. It's crime ridden. It's got so much crime. Right, so sort of moving on. Chapter 8 is the crime blotter. This is basically it's not exactly a whole bunch of adventures, but it's a bunch of sort of adventure hooks and information on how you could run an adventure, sort of based around a whole bunch of different sort of ideas. So you get a sort of information on like the setup and the sort of villains that might be involved, and it's sort of like one-page adventures, I suppose you could almost call them, couldn't you?
You've got your one sheet sort of thing that you've recommended in the GM advice.
And and you take these and you sort of run your own sort of adventure based on the information found there. But then we sort of go into a bit more detail and we present an entire adventure in this book called State of the Empire.
Yes, chapter 9. Good times.
Yeah. So this is an adventure which can be played by judges, perps, or civilians, and it involves entering the old Empire State Building, which is now just kind of a comparatively small building in Mega City 1 now. The Mega Blocks tower over it, and it's kind of like a sort of refuge for sort of a criminal gang and vagrants and stuff like that. And there's different reasons why judges or civilians or perps might be entering this building, and they'll have a different sort of agenda upon doing so. So we've got an adventure there, which, any type of character can play. Chapter 10 is the chapter called Foes. So what we have here is instructions on how to create your own sort of NPCs, monsters, creatures, mutants, robots, all that sort of stuff. Sort of simplified sort of way to very quickly make a character, but it's because it's for an NPC, it's not in as much detail as a player character is.
Could I just ask quickly, is the generator for monsters that you created, is that compatible with this?
What sort is new one?
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, I used it to make all the foes in this book.
Fantastic. Well, we should probably put that in the show notes then, shouldn't we?
Literally, you can create a monster in sort of 5 seconds, or an NPC in 5 seconds. It's brilliant. And then we've got a bestiary, Yeah,
well, it's all the people.
So this bestiary contains, we've got blaster turrets, blitz agents, citizens, city desk judges, drivers, eldsters, elite blitz agents, experienced judges, heavy gunners, heisters, industrial robots, Juve gang members, Juve gang leaders, med judges, mob capos, mob enforcers, mob henchmen, mutant raiders, rogue psychers, petty criminals, senior judges, street judges, sky surfers, soft spies, taps, tech judges, vagrants, and workers.
Good. I
got through all that in one breath.
Yes, bravo.
I'm quite pleased with myself.
There we go.
And then we finish off with an appendix full of useful tables, handouts, like a lore master handout, a lawgiver handout, 4 pre-generated characters, and some character sheets.
And it's grand.
And there we go, that's the book. It's gorgeous.
Hell of a book.
Absolutely beautiful. So what I'll do is I'll quickly close off just by reminding people the Kickstarter, 25th of September, 5 p.m. GMT. It will be launching. It will run for a month, but you want to get in early if you can. You can find out more information at worldsof2000adrpg.com. You can see a nice countdown timer there. There's a tab there with lots of news and previews of the game, where you can sign up to get notified. All sorts of stuff. So make sure you head over to worldsof2000adrpg.com and we'll put that in the show notes. One thing, as I did mention in our Kickstarter episode a couple of weeks ago, which we do here at EM Publishing with Kickstarters, these books are done. We're not going to have this Kickstarter, and in a year's time, you're going to be going, where's my book? And we're going to be saying, oh, yes, we're just getting some art in for Chapter 9 and stuff like that. Basically, what's going to happen is when you back the Kickstarter, when it ends, as soon as the funds are cleared, we'll order the print run, and we'll send it straight out to you.
Yes, and I suppose we should add with stretch goals and things from the Kickstarter, those won't be holding up anything. Sometimes you get a Kickstarter where however much is done, there's like, oh, now the stretch goal adds another chapter to the book.
So no, we're not doing anything like that. The book's done. We can't change it.
So
there will be the stretch. We do have a couple of stretch goals on that. And I can reveal what those are, can't I?
Yeah,
reveal what those are?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
So we've got, there's the online character builder.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the online character builder is something I am writing myself from scratch. It works. It needs a bit of polishing, but it's pretty much done. The that is one of the stretch goals.
Yeah, the next one we have is the 6-month weekly live streamed game hosted by GM of Doom or Wax Demon over the table.
So,
which I think you've mentioned as part of the
so
thing.
he runs a lot of online sort of live stream games. Some for D&D, some for I believe is it Masks, the superhero game?
Yeah,
he does
yeah.
a couple of what's old his new ones. One called Warped, which is a sort of sci-fi space opera one, and one called The Nameless Ones, which is a sort of dark medieval fantasy one with lots of demons and stuff in it. So if we make that stretch goal, he is going to be running a 6-month weekly Judge Dredd live streamed campaign.
Fantastic.
And then the last one, of course, closest to my heart, is the 20 pre-generated robot characters.
Yes! Yeah.
Which I'm very glad to see. I fully expected those to vanish from the book in terms of space.
So what we'll do with those is, they won't be in the book, but we'll release those as a separate sort of PDF, which you can download and print off as sort of pre-gens for the various Robot Wars adventures. Okay, so Worlds of 2000 AD RPG.com. See the countdown for the Kickstarter. Make sure you sign up to get notified.
Is it competition time yet, Rust?
Well, first of all, should we do last week's competition?
Oh, yes, let's.
So the last week's question was, which Wizards of the Coast designer...
What was the name?
Yeah.
Yes, what was the name of the Wizards of the Coast designer that was involved in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica?
Yes.
And lots of Magic the Gathering stuff.
So we got...
What was the answer, Russ?
The answer was, of course, James Wyatt.
Yes.
So we got an entry from Dominic Amann.
Ooh.
I hope I am pronouncing his name correctly, but we know from past history that I pronounce nobody's name correctly.
This is your way.
He's written, I am probably months late. No, you're not, Dominic. You are exactly on time. But is the answer for podcast 10 James Wyatt? Yes, Dominic, yes, it is. We have our good friend, Tyler McConnell.
Hey, Tyler!
He says, Hi, Morrus. Hi, Peter. James Wyatt is the creator of the Plane Shift articles and one of the authors of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. And then we have Greg Ziegler, throwing my name in the hat, as it were. The Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica co-author is James Wyatt, or some such. I am one of the hosts of the Grognards podcast. Less informative than yours. Oh, I'm sure it's not. But
it would
just as
be
friendly.
Hard to be
Give us a try.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we pretty much... we're the bottom of the barrel when it comes to competence.
I'm pretty sure I know less now than I did at the start of the podcast. That's
this has been a negative information sink.
Well, this is one of the first international podcasts this time, live from China.
Well, indeed, what can I say?
What was the prize? The prize was a touch of class, I believe. 7 new D&D classes. So I'll let one of our guests choose the winner then. Do you have a dice to hand?
Right, I'm using one of my Doctor Who D6s.
Okay.
Here it comes. Here's the roll.
Here we go.
I have rolled a 6.
Oh.
So Greg Ziegler, you are the winner.
Yes.
You are the winner. I'll email you to get your address and get your prize out to you. I just want to mention we've got a new patron as well.
A new Patreon, that's amazing.
Which is rather amazing because we've got 2 new patrons. We've got 2 new patrons.
What?
How exciting! We have.
They're not called Darren and Angie, are they? I'm just checking.
So we have Jay, a new $5 patron. That's rather very generous, isn't it?
Hi, say. I'm all aflutter.
You think that's generous? Bernie Monsanto is a $15 patron. Wow.
I'll just rehinge my jaw. Thank you so much. I am absolutely blown away.
Thank you to both of you, because
we should use Birdie's name in a Judge Dredd. That's a very 2018.
Do you know what, Bernie? Email us. We'll do something nice for you for that. I think that's so generous. Yeah, as we mentioned before, if you head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/Morrus. You can back our podcast. It does cost us money. We have to pay Darryl every month to do the sound engineering. We've had to buy sort of microphones and a mixer and other sort of bits and pieces. And so, please do, if you can, spare $1 or $2 and just back our podcast, and it'll just help us keep going and help us sort of fund the entire enterprise. The question this week is, how many journalists has Malach turned into piles of dust? And I warn you, that might be a mild trick question. The winner will get, and they're going to get the grand prize of all, the winner will get a hardcover copy of Judge Dredd and the Worlds of 2000 AD.
Wow.
That,
Can I enter?
got to admit, is quite a prize.
That is quite a prize.
You will be one of the first people in the world to see this book. You'll be the envy of your friends. Send your answer to morruspodcast@gmail.com. The closing time is, as usual, Sunday, midnight GMT. And I look forward to hearing your answers and your commentary. Because I do like reading out the sort of little remarks that people make. We haven't done our favourite game in all the world. Do you want to do that?
Gentlemen, do
Peter?
you know the favourite game in all the world ever?
A favourite game in all the
Which
world
is-
ever.
Guess the Kickstarter from the title alone.
I read out the name of a Kickstarter to you and tell you nothing else. And the idea is you have to guess what that Kickstarter is. And then you win a number of points based on a very scientific and extremely codified scoring system that I have
They're spreadsheets. So many
created
spreadsheets.
myself. Okay, Peter, what is House of Keys?
Oh, that's an exciting one. I read a really good graphic novel which was all about basically keys that would open doors into places that the doors would not otherwise open to. So I think House of Keys...
That is what a key does, I suppose.
No, it's a place that the door would not open into.
Oh, I
So
see.
it's like they sort of like... You use the keys and you open it a place and it goes into a different place than you should be going to. Or it has different effects.
Okay.
I'm struggling to remember what it is. It was a fantastic comic book series, but I cannot remember off the top of my head. So that's the first thing that springs to mind. House of Keys, yeah, it's a house full of interdimensional portals, and you use keys to open them and go different places.
You
How am I
have
doing?
got minus 10 points out of 10 for that. You couldn't be any further off.
Okay, fair enough. So what's it about then? Tell me,
It
I'm dying to know.
is a lawless, Slavic-inspired fantasy setting.
Oh, yes. No, I do remember this one.
Yeah, so it's by Jim Pinto of Postworld Games. And it's a rich new fantasy world called Iron Medusa, and this world spins new legends and folklore while remaining rooted in Eastern European cultures. House of Keys introduces that world through the lens of a doomed mansion infested with loathsome spirits where trapped adventurers have turned against one of each other in a fight for survival. House of Keys focuses on psychological horror.
Yeah, that's a Jim game.
And isn't it using his
Praxis and Protocol.
King of Storms system, I think?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Protocol Squared system. Is anyone know anything about it?
I backed it and it's on my reading list,
okay.
and I still haven't got around to it.
Okay. Who wants to go next? Andy, you want to give it a go?
Okay, go on and hit me with one.
If you backed it, tell me, and I'll move on to a different one.
Yes.
So what is Rise of the Demigods?
Oh, now that one I have.
I don't think you would have done. I've given something away there.
It's about
saying
demigods.
It sounds to me like an D&D one of some form, I would imagine.
Yeah, you're not a fan, are you?
I'm not against D&D at all. But yeah, I'm going to imagine this is a new, probably not Wizards, because they don't tend to do Kickstarters. So I'm going to imagine it is, not Pathfinder. So it's probably a third-party campaign module. Possibly by the same people that did the folio, I would guess, something on those lines. And at a rough stab in the dark, I imagine there's some demigods and they rise.
Interesting.
And his patented ability to win the competition by simply saying the title back in a different order. That's what you should have done, Peter. You said, some keys in a house.
Keys in a house.
Yeah.
They're a lot more
Now, I
accurate
couldn't tell you whether the player characters will be responsible for the rise of these demigods or be trying to stop the rise of these demigods, but I imagine it's one of the two.
Well, I'm going to give you 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. So, you are correct in that it's D&D, but I think I gave that away, so I'm not sure you deserve the points for that. And the PCs neither cause or prevent the Rise of the Demigods. They are the demigods.
Oh, interesting.
So this is the first in a series of adventures for the 5th edition setting of Godsfall. The characters take on the roles of young demigods, which are then introduced to the world of Calgon before the destruction of the Gods' War.
So it's sort of like D20 Scion, really.
I suppose, yeah.
That sounds like the ultimate GM and annoying player thing. It's like, hey guys, you're all going to play demigods.
Yes.
Brilliant. What, like
Yes,
epic
yes.
level? Yeah, this is going to be amazing. Okay, what happens when we start? We've done our characters. Okay, there's
I'm
a big
probably
war and
getting
everyone's trying to
one
kill you.
player.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Okay, Darren, it's your turn. So far, Andy is in the lead with 5 out of 10 because Peter has minus 10 out of 10. This is like the patented sort of QI scoring system, you see.
Yes, it's winning by just not losing.
Okay, Darren. What is the year of Cthulhu?
Ooh.
No points for saying Cthulhu.
The clues in the title.
Well, yeah, obviously. It sounds as though, obviously, Cthulhu tends to be what? Chaosium, Modiphius.
It does.
I'm not that clued up on Cthulhu. I haven't looked at Cthulhu stuff for a while.
Well, this makes this the ideal question for you then, doesn't it?
Indeed.
Hedging intensifies.
Yeah.
What could it be?
It sounds like almost like a kind of massive adventure path or something similar that focuses on like a whole series of adventures set over a year in Cthulhu.
So I see you're looking at me trying to discern from my face whether or not you're getting close or not.
Yeah, I'm going to go with something along those lines. I mean, the Year of Cthulhu speaks to me something along the lines of epic story set with Cthulhu for a year of the peace investigation.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So given the sort of caveat that you get no points for saying Cthulhu, so you get no points for that. Unfortunately, Darren, I have some bad news for you. You've got, unfortunately, a minus 310 points out of 10 for that.
Yes.
You see,
I feel I'm in with the
I
chance
think it might have
now.
been a slightly mischievous sort of trick question on my part because although this is an RPG podcast, the Year of Cthulhu is
Cthulhu isn't
a Cthulhu-themed calendar.
Actually, no, that is actually quite cool.
Yeah, it does look quite awesome, actually. I'm looking at some of the sort of
different
pictures
sanity
here,
check
and
every month.
I'm really tempted. It's a 2019 character. 2019 calendar. Hopefully the Kickstarter will fulfill in time then, because that's not the sort of Kickstarter you want to delay on, so that you have it in time for the 1st of January. It's by Comic Games, a Cthulhu-flavoured calendar for 2019, featuring the fantastic artwork of I'm going to very competently pronounce someone's name here, Evgeny Maloshenkov.
Oh, I think I know him. He might have done. I think he's one of the guys who did some work for my Cabal.
Oh, okay. So you know what the art looks like then?
Yeah, I would guess it's on he's got a very similar to Slay Industries kind of style, I believe.
It's all full colour. I'm not sure what Slay Industries art is like, so I couldn't say. But
yes, quite twisted and futuristic type things in some places.
It notes here, intriguingly, that the calendar provides 12 images. That's surprising.
But
That's an interesting approach to a calendar.
That's why it goes up to December.
So I think the winner of our favourite game in all the world this week is Andy with his 5 points out of 10. Andy, your prize is the satisfaction of knowing that you've defeated these two losers.
That is prize enough for me. I can see the
Peregrine.
faces of defeat on the Skype channel as I watch in gloating joy.
Okay.
I'm only sad that Angus wasn't there to challenge.
Well, you see, Angus can't play because he writes the column we base this off, the Kickstarter column. He knows all the answers in advance. That is the end of the podcast this week. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. It has been a pleasure delivering to you no useful information whatsoever in as incompetent a manner as we possibly can.
Exceptions apply for Andy Peregrine and Darren Pearce, who have, if anything, upped our professional standards to hitherto unforeseen depths.
Yes,
heights,
indeed.
Depths. Words. Words. I do words good.
It's goodbye from me, Russ.
It's goodbye from me, Peter.
Goodbye from me, Andrew.
And it's goodbye from him. I mean me.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
That was the best podcast yet. No, I'm just joking. It was awful. The dog that was howling outside my bedroom window last night would have done a better job. I'm considering swapping Russ and Peter's heads just to see what will happen. Do let me know next week if you notice any difference.